That's one problem, but because the news actually was blanket coverage of the visit on the internet, and that's the world that we're living in now. The world has changed. It was the lead story in all the broadcast news in the United States. So it was a big news. It's just that there are differences in our countries. And India, I mean, personally, I love reading newspapers. One of my favorite things to do on a Sunday morning is get all the newspapers together and sip my coffee. So India's got these great newspapers going still, but unfortunately, that's not the case in a lot of the rest of the world.
When we welcomed President Obama, we were all very thrilled to have him. But the way the security took the center stage of the states, our head of the state comes to America. Will they be allowed to do the same role? Second question, that here Obama came and outside University Hall and the St. Xavier's School, College, the kids' parents were issued the ID card, everything. They went there and they were all humiliated, and the way they were disheartened and turned back. Can you throw the light on that? My another question included with this 2 days recent affair of Meera Shankar and this Harbans Singh. Can you throw the light on that?
I will. I'll take them one at a time here. First of all, I would say that India and the U.S., whenever a head of state travels, it's parity. And so we're always delighted that the Prime Minister's traveled to the U.S. several times, actually, if not many times. I'd have to go back and look. But we go all out for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has got huge standing in the world, and we have tremendous respect for the Prime Minister, and so accord him all respect. I think one of the challenges that we face with the President of the United States is that there are, without getting into security specifics, there's a huge number of people that frankly want him harmed. And so the challenge not only for our country, but but when he goes somewhere like India, the host government becomes aware of some of the threats, and then they try to mitigate against them, and it's not the normal problem. When you have if you're a head of state in some country in Africa, for example, and you come to India, you really don't have that same kind of visibility. So we do have to take special precautions. We are extremely grateful to the people of India wherever the president travels, and that we know we upset schedules, and we're very grateful for that, but we don't know how else to do it. Because if people get through, they will do him harm. And I can't get into that specifically, but that's exactly the problem. And so how do we do that? I'm sorry about not all the parents and everyone seeing the president. I can tell you, I was responsible for the entire visit, personally. I was the one directing most of it. I'd never heard parents had even asked to see the president at the university, I can assure you. But I can also tell you, I'm not sure I could have helped that. The president saw thousands and thousands of people in India. And the problem is we just cannot fit everybody in. It's impossible. And the problem is everybody wants to see the president. Everybody. The people, 1 million people came out and lined the streets trying to get a glimpse of the president. And so where do you draw that line? If you go to a university where you can only fit 400 people in the quadrangle, if you just take the parents of the students who were there, that means that if you couldn't get 400 students, you would have had to have 800 parents. They won't fit. So what can you do? Now, I do want to address the issue of the searches, because that's something we certainly don't want to happen. I can tell you that actually, for me personally, for the ambassador, we're often searched here in India. It happens all the time. I don't think it's supposed to. I'm not sure, but we do respect security protocols all the time. And when there's ever any doubt, we just submit to a search. because I think sometimes you have to model that behavior and allow it to be known that it's a good thing. We all want to be safe. And so I do think, on the other hand, I know Ambassador Schenker actually, and we know very well she doesn't represent any threat. And so the problem is when we go, if I go to a remote place, if Ambassador Schenker goes to a remote place, they may or may not realize. And I think that's what happened in, was it Mississippi? But a pretty remote state in the U.S. And they may not have, but if they go to Washington, if they go to New York, they got the brief. They know. Now, and there can be errors for sure. I mean, we don't want that to happen. But we're aware that it happens here too, and that's unfortunate. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. We want to keep everyone safe, and that's, I don't know how else to do that. We do that by educating and briefing people. We'll work on our people and make sure they understand. Is that answering? Yes.
Mr. Paul, Americans are technically, otherwise also powerful nation. You have been instrumental in signing the agreement between Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India for gas pipeline. When you can do such a good work, why can't your country solve the problem of Kashmir? Because every day in every city of India there is a phone call, there is a bomb, there is some problem, and the whole peace of this country is at stake. So what I say, that you being a very friendly country, why not convince them to have full and final decision on the issue, because that only source is creating proxy war, and every city of this country is under turmoil. So kindly give your opinion on this.
Well, honestly, I believe that Kashmir is an issue for India. Honestly, I do, because we're not as powerful as people seem to think we are. I hear people say that, ascribe all sorts of authorities to us. In Pakistan, supposedly we can make all these things happen. I served in Pakistan. We had no such authority. Actually, solving political crisis is something that I do work on professionally. In fact, Anna and I were talking about Afghanistan and the solutions to some of the problems there. Usually, most of the problems in stabilizing an unstable area are related to the local government and finding solutions there. But it's not going to be solved by an outside force. It's always a mistake. You think so, but it's just, there's nothing we really have to contribute there. We want our friends in India to solve this. We wish them well, and we hope, if we knew what help, we would certainly do that. But we don't have that solution. That's a political issue of Indians, and I honestly think that has to be. It's the same way if I sent you to Texas and Oklahoma and asked you to try to solve a border dispute, which they have, where people have actually been shot at. It's going to be, that's a local governance problem.
2 points. One, American First Lady saw that least expensive car being produced in India, and she sat in that. And in India, that cost $2,500. In USA, if they go there to manufacture, it will cost $5,000. And the least expensive car in the whole world. And other companies are trying to compete with this. They have not succeeded yet. Second point, sir.
Is that a question or a statement? It is cool that the president saw the Nano. That's true. Ratan Tata offered that to the president. The president did go down. Ratan was very nice. He brought the car into the hotel, and the president got to check it out. So that's true. It's a great car. It's an achievement in India. So.